We're going to learn how to write the kanji for week in this video tutorial. It's pronounced shu and it consists of two elements. On the right hand side we have the element which means circumference or going around. And to the left and underneath we have an element which means moving along. Now this was originally a picture of a farm and it showed the border around the farm first of all. Now we start by drawing the left hand stroke of the boundary around the farm. So we go down here on the left, that's our very first stroke. Then the next stroke and the right hand stroke, that's that classic box shape, and we go across, and without taking our pen off we go all the way down and round, and the ticky bit at the end is optional. So we've got the boundary around our farm. Now inside our boundary we've got two further elements. On top we've got the element which means ground or earth or dirt or land, and if you recall it goes across here. Those are the two leaves growing up. Then you've got down here, that's the stalk of the plant, and then across the bottom you've got the horizon or the land itself. So we've got land on the top, and that makes sense because on a farm you've got land. And then underneath we have this classic box shape which represents a mouth all the way across and down without taking our pens off. Finish off from left to right, and of course on the farm you've got lots of dirt or soil, and underneath you've got the mouths to feed. So there we've got our element which means circumference, and it represents a farm, or in ancient China probably a rice paddy. Now on the left hand side we've got this element which to me looks like an earthworm crawling along and moving along the road. So we're going to draw his head in first, then we're going to do the squiggly part of his body which looks very much like a 3 when you write it by hand. So put the 3 in here, and there's his squiggly tail going all the way underneath. Now I doubt this is the original story, but I like to think, well, how long would it take a little worm to move along around the boundary of a typical farm? Well, probably a week. So there's the character meaning week. Now we can use this character to write this week, next week, last week, and every week. And this is what they'd look like. For this week, konshu, we're going to start with the character for now. And if you recall, we put the steep roof on top. There it is, ichi ni. We draw the katakana ra underneath for a rough moustache, because that needs shaving now. Then for shu, we're going to draw the boundary around our farm, down and then across and round with that optional tick. We're going to draw the earth in the middle, the mouths to feed down on the left, across and round without taking our pen off, close it off left to right, and there's our wriggly worm moving along the road. And there we have konshu, this week. Next we have lai shu, or next week, and it's the week which is coming. So we start on the left hand side with the kanji which means to come. Now for this one we use the story about Christmas. Christmas is coming and we're going to decorate the Christmas tree. We're going to begin by putting a horizontal angel on the top. Then we're going to pop in our Christmas lights like that. And finally we're going to draw our tree. Our bough going across, trunk coming all the way down, and then left hand bough and right hand bough. And there we have the kanji meaning coming. Next we have to put week in again, and if you recall we do our element which means circumference first, and that means going down on the left of the boundary around our farm, across and continuing down to finish the boundary off. In the middle goes the earth, the land or the dirt. Underneath the mouths we have to feed, left to right, close that box, and there's the wriggly worm who takes a whole week to wriggle around that farm. Laishu, next week. Next we're going to look at senshu, last week. Sen over here on the left you'll remember from sensei, and we begin on the top with our cow's horns. There's the horn, then we're going to go across and down, that's the cow's nose, and there we are. To finish the element which means cow, we simply add human legs underneath to make sen. In this kanji, it means last, as in last week. Then we add shu. I'm sure you remember the circumference bit. Down on the left, across, down on the right. Tick is optional. In goes the earth or the dirt. Mouths to feed underneath. And finally, the head of our wriggly worm, who's going to wriggle all around the circumference of the farm, and that's going to take him a week. Put it with sen, senshu, last week. Finally, we have mai shu, every week. Now for mai, we start with the top element, which I hope you remember just means person, and it's a squished up version of the character meaning person. So down on the left, across on the right, and underneath we do a version of mother. Now, if you recall, mother has hips on the left-hand side. That's left hip going right across. The right hip, well, it's a bit odd, isn't it? But we go across here, down for the right hip. Then we're going to put in her breasts, but we're going to join them up to make them easier to write. And then finally her arms go across. And we have a person and a mother. Well, every person has a mother. So there's mai, and then we add shu. Again, we do our circumference first, down on the left, across and round to finish off that boundary. In the middle we have dirt or earth, mouths to feed underneath, and finally, my favourite, the little wormy guy who's moving along the road. And it's going to take him a week to go around the farm. Mai shu, every week.